Hey everyone, it's UB. Welcome to a trade review video. This video will be about my Bitcoin short hedge from my charts section. This wasn't an official trade or anything like that, but after the trade hit all of the targets and I was talking to you guys about it, I thought that there would be a lot of educational value for me to post a trade review video about it, talk about the trade, because this is a lower time frame trade. All of my triggers were based on lower time frames, so I think it could be very interesting for you guys. It may be a little bit of a long one, so if I'm just rambling or something like that, you can actually increase the speed of the video in the bottom right hand corner. Click the cog and put it to like 1.5x or 2x, so I'm speaking a little quicker for you if I get boring. If you have any further questions after this video, definitely feel free to ask. Any comments, anything like that, I would definitely appreciate all of your feedback. But before I really get into my trade triggers and all of that stuff, there's a lot of stuff that happened before that's necessary that I talk about, trends, stuff like that, the different patterns I was looking for. So I think this is the daily open from like 2 days ago. Yeah, 2 days ago I think, when all this selling took place. I don't even know what day it is anymore. So whenever this this sell candle happened is this daily open. Okay, 2 days ago I guess. So I should mention that the Asia trading session has kind of almost turned into like a meme, which isn't that great on social media, Twitter, and stuff like that. I just want to say that the Asia trading session has always been a lower volatility of time for years. Okay, always lower volatility, typically bearish chop. You would get a couple days every few weeks where during that trading session there was a lot of buyers, but typically it was when volatility died and it was mostly bearish chop. Okay, and if you don't know the different trading sessions, definitely Google it before you continue watching this video, because it would be helpful to know as I'm talking about them so you can kind of like understand where I'm going with it. So with that in mind, with how heavily the session has been selling in the past couple, I would say 2 weeks, I had all of that in mind when I was looking for this short hedge. And my short hedge was only at 32K, and I closed it at 29.8, around there. So nothing really. We're at 35.6 right now, so there's a lot to talk about in this video. So before I ramble too much, let's get into the price action here. So with knowing everything I just said about the Asia session being typically more bearish and where volatility dies, but in the last 2 weeks a lot more bearish, we pumped directly into the daily open, whatever day this was, 2 days ago. Okay, we pumped directly into the daily open, which looked very good. Ethereum was breaking out from a series of lower highs. I thought everything looked very, very promising. Okay, I was bullish here. Also, because of this support and resistance flip break here, right, this was kind of capping price down for 13 hours, so basically the entire day. We saw a very nice bottom here. Price spiked these lows. Oh goodness, I already need water. Price already spiked those lows and then flipped or finally broke the support and resistance flip, right? So overall, very nice structure, really, really clean bottom. This, in my opinion, was a bottom. Okay, I would have longed this breakout here, 35.3. In fact, I think I did scalp long it, and I think I closed that break even. Doesn't matter. So 35.3, key area, key support and resistance flip, just based on all of the volume that happened in here on this retest as well. Consolidation, breakout. Okay. So a very, very, very common pattern that I've been seeing during these sessions is we would create some sort of attempt at a bounce, right? And it would it's almost coming out of nowhere, right? We're selling, chopping down for a bit, attempting to bounce. We sell off a little bit more than the previous candles, spike down. Okay, then we'll glide up for maybe 500 points, stall a bit, totally engulf the bounce, and then we'd see accelerated selling below that previous bounce area, right? Just the lower time frame bounce area. So this is a pattern to look out for throughout this video. And, you know, we still see that pattern during these trading sessions. It's a very, very common pattern. So with that in mind, let's press the play button and see what we got going on here. So I'm already pressing pause, but what did I want to say? So our first area of interest that we don't want to see break, if this really is the bottom, would be the 35.3k level. We do not want to see that area break. Okay, and if that area does break, this balance point really has to break, or really has to hold, right? We can't bleed and roll over into this point, or we're going to accelerate the sell-off, right? And you can see what I'm saying, kind of, with this daily open or pre-daily open pump, right? We kind of just explode out of the middle of nowhere, right? We're kind of consolidating below resistance, but really we didn't hit a key level, absolutely nothing, and we bounce out of nowhere almost 1,000 points, which is just absurd. So when this happened, this triggered in my mind, okay, we're going to see stalling, accelerated sell-off when this base breaks. So there's the stalling, approaching our first must-hold level, attempt at a bounce. Didn't happen. Going for the slow bleed back down. You can see, even on lower time frames, how key this level was. That lower time frame support and resistance flip. Tried to spike above, immediately smacked down. So this is looking rough already. I did not enter into a short hedge here. This is just me talking about what happened and why I want to enter into a short hedge. Okay, so I'll just let this play for a bit here. And I actually like these patterns if it was during a higher volume time when we basically just sell. Because when we form some sort of base, it's usually an easy long back to these untapped highs here. But that's besides the point. That's another pattern that you could look out for during higher volume times. But that's just something I was also looking out for here. You know, I definitely wanted to enter into a long at this point because of these lows here. As long as these lows were holding, I thought that we'd be fine, and that's at 34k. All right, let's press play here and continue. Nothing really going on. I remember that pattern I'm talking about. Attempt at a bounce from the middle of absolutely nowhere. Bleed back down, accelerated sell-off. Look at this. A perfect example. Where is this bouncing from? I guess this one isn't necessarily in the middle of nowhere because of, you know, this and here. It kind of makes sense that it bounced there a little bit. But here we go. We bounced 300 points so far. Oh, nice. Look at that one. This looked promising, right? Oh my god, it's the bottom. This is finally the bottom. 550 points. Stalling. And I don't know if you'll be able to guess what happens next. Oh, wait. You probably did. Okay, there's the accelerated sell-off below this attempted bounce area, right? 500 points up, bled all the way back down, okay? And I'm not saying 500 points like it's some sort of key number that you need to know or anything like that. It's just, you know, when we're bouncing a couple hundred points from the lows and stall, I start to get a little bit worried. And when it breaks like the base of that bouncing area, you can typically enter into a short, and it's a pretty good scalp short for another couple hundred points until you see another base form where it just bounces in the middle of nowhere. Anyway, same deal here. Base forms, we didn't get that accelerated sell-off. This looked even better, right, because we trapped sellers below here, bounced another... What's this? 540 points. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Stalling. You guys won't believe what happens next. Ooh, feisty one. Okay, perfect. Break the base down here. Accelerated sell-off. Okay, so here is where I start to get interested in a continued hedge. Okay, let's talk about it here. So it's definitely worth knowing that we did not tap this lower liquidity below 30K ever. This was unswept from when we put in this lower high at 40.1K. The lows at 30K were never swept. Okay, and I'm a liquidity based trader, so I look for the areas that with the most amount of liquidity that it is easiest for price to get to. Okay, and this 30K level was absolutely perfect. Such a clean level. There's going to be stop losses below there. So I was targeting that 30K level with any short position I was going to enter. Okay, and this 32K level that I'm about to highlight here is just the start of a new range that I thought that would be developing on Bitcoin here. So before I go any further, let it be known that Bitcoin was selling off for 11 hours essentially straight, you can say. It was selling off for 11 hours straight. There's going to be lower time frame bull divs. There's going to be hourly bull divs. That's just how it works. That's always how it works. You have to really be careful with bull divs and take context really. You have to hold context. I don't know what I'm trying to say. You have to make sure the context is very important to you when you're looking at those bull divs. Okay. So selling off for 11 hours, lots of low time frame bull divs. My argument here was that we would see some sort of relief bounce, and that's when I would short. I would see the same. I would look for the same sort of deal, right? Maybe a bounce to like, I don't know, 33.8K would have been totally fine. I could have seen that. That could have been a scalp short. Just take a sip of water here. I'm losing my voice. Okay, so that area for a low time frame bull div target, I don't know, something like that. That was my overall argument going into this. Okay, so let's take a look here. So I decided for all of those lower time frame bull divs, I just wanted to highlight this area, just this 32K level, just because, you know, we just put in 600 points of selling and it was immediately engulfed 15 minutes later with 700 points of buying. So I just figured, hey, why not mark out this low, see if I could create a new range. Maybe, I don't know, something like this would have been my range that we've been trading in for a couple hours. After that I can get some scalps in, maybe, I don't know, something like this, scalp short here. Doesn't matter. I thought this would have been my range. I do this a lot when lower time frame stuff is going on. It doesn't mean the range is going to be valid. I'm just messing around trying to see where price is going to find some support and or resistance. Okay, so this would have been fine for a range for now, just to see where price, you know, would, if it would respect those levels. Like I said, just kind of messing around, seeing if there's anything significant going on. Okay. And let me just delete this just because it's going to get in the way of something that I want to highlight. Okay, remember what I was talking about, right? Price was basically bouncing in the middle of nowhere for a couple hundred points, stalling, selling off below the bounce point and having an accelerated sell-off below that. Let me just X out what that sound is. Sorry, that's one of my programs going off there. Okay, hopefully that won't bother you guys anymore. All right, so keep that in mind. That was just the common theme, right? Sure, we saw a lot of low time frame bull divs. Sure, maybe my bullish argument was a little bit too early, but the trend is still very much down. I was just concerned about the bull divs because in this environment, you know, a $2,000 bounce is nothing. It could bounce $2,000 and then bleed right back down. And that would satisfy the bull divs for me personally. So that's why I wasn't too quick to jump into another short position, even though the trend is still down here. And also what I want to highlight before going any further is just this series of lower highs. Again, if you've seen these videos before, you know that I just like to draw these diagonals just to see, again, if price is respecting those levels, if I can get anything actionable from those levels. All right. And lower high is pretty valid, right? And I was actually, you know, I'm remembering now what I was looking to do. what I was looking to do was long a breakout from this diagonal. This is a pattern you also definitely want to burn in your brain, especially for lower time frames, where a series of lower highs breaking above that diagonal. Typically try and long that breakout there. That's a decent breakout long. So that was also the thought process there. But again, don't forget the overall trend. We've been selling off for the last 12 hours. Why stop now when this untapped liquidity at 29.9K still remains? That was my entire thought process. Any long I would have entered would have been quick, maybe for 500 points or so. It would have not been for a couple thousand points. All right, see, same pattern we've been seeing. Bounce a couple hundred points, stall, accelerated sell-off below where the bounce originated from. Okay, see that pattern absolutely everywhere. You see it everywhere. And I decided to go with this range here, see if we'd get anything. Series of lower highs still valid. And this is just a line I just drew just to see if price would respect it. I drew it right after this rejection here because I had a couple touches there, so I figured why not just draw it, see if it would, add any type of confluence to my argument. And look, it definitely added lots of confluence. Okay, and where did I actually enter this? Okay. I'm just looking at my other monitor here to see where I entered. Okay, so I believe I entered right here for my hedge. I posted it in my chart section. I just said I'm hedging some of my exposure here. I still believe we're going for those untapped lows, so that's where my take profit will be. Nothing too crazy, just a hedge trade. And I wanted to do that again because the same exact pattern is playing out. Okay, we bounce, couple hundred points, stall, sell off. We're going to see an accelerated sell off below here. We've seen it however many times during this session. I've seen it for days and days. Same exact pattern play out. So now, look at this. I'm using my diagonal to my advantage, and I'm using that as confluence for this trade, right? Because if price breaks above this diagonal, it's an easy cut. I'll just cut it quickly, just take a scratch on it, maybe short a little bit higher, see where price is going to go. But that was the thought process there. We also reclaimed this little low time frame support and resistance flip. This wasn't really anything significant. It was mostly just the pattern. Just this pattern. Bounce, stall, accelerated sell-off below the base of the bounce. So I put out the alert there, I believe, and my take profits were 29,880, 29,865, etc., etc. You can look at my chart section if you want. My lowest take profit was 29,835, and I just figured we're going to sweep these lows one way or another, so I'll just spread my take profits 100 points from the lows. Could have gone a couple hundred points lower. It doesn't really matter to me. All I knew is that my argument says that we're going to sweep those lows. Good. And this orange line is the untapped lows. We immediately began to sell off. Good. Look at this. Accelerated sell-off below the base of the bounce area. Again, attempted to bounce on the 5-minute, immediately engulfed. And when you see this pattern as well on lower time frames, we attempt to bounce, immediately sell off, and reject from that bounce. That's usually a sign, not usually, that is a sign that sellers are very, very much in control here. Same deal, trying to form some sort of base here. Maybe I posted the trade here. It doesn't matter. Either way, let's just pretend I'm in a hedge short. Same deal. Bounce, stall, accelerated sell-off should happen below here. Bounce. Kind of just ranging, kind of just chilling out. Series of lower highs still valid, by the way. And there we go. Okay, this is actually where, let me see. Okay, this is it. This is the bounce that got me interested in the scalp long. Okay, sorry. I guess disregard what I said about entering here. This is the one, 100%. So this one in particular is what triggered me to get into this scalp short, or this hedge short, whatever, because of this bounce, right? Because I know that this pattern should go for a couple hundred points, should at least retest the origin of this series of lower highs. If not the origin, maybe the high or two after. But I was looking for some sort of bounce. And on lower time frames, I know just from watching the chart for the last couple of weeks that low time frame diagonal breaks have been very profitable. So for us to fail a low time frame diagonal break, plus for us to fail, or I guess for us to see the pattern again where we bounce, stall a bit, accelerated sell off below the lows, the base of the lows there, then I knew that my argument was going to be valid for a hedge, and it would have been a failed breakout, and we should see some accelerated selling below there. And I really didn't like this stalling here at all. And at this point, actually, we can see that my random line, just extending the line right, you can see that this area actually happened to be a key area going forward in this little low time frame range. So that's always nice to see. There's really nothing wrong with just drawing lines at lows just to see if price will respect it. If not, just delete it. Doesn't really matter. And we're seeing the same pattern, right? Let me just take a sip of water. Sorry, my throat hurts. Okay, right, so same pattern, broke back below our low time frame range high, you could say, or just low time frame support and resistance flip, doesn't really matter what you call it. And here I hedged at 31,780. Okay, so right in here, I believe, is where I call it. Again, doesn't really matter, but I just want it to be somewhat accurate for this video because we're seeing the same pattern play out here. I thought it was going to be something like this. Let me delete this. Something like this, right? Where we do see some sort of nice bounce, right? Nice bounce, but then just relentless selling. Absolutely just no end to the selling. And for me, I thought, okay, this satisfies my low time frame bull divs. This is not terrible. This is not really that terrible of a bounce. It's a good fake out, satisfies low time frame bull divs for now. We've been seeing them for the last however many hours because we've been selling just absolutely nonstop without a bounce in sight for hours now. We should see a bull div, get some sort of bounce, and again, here's where the pattern is absolutely perfect. We accelerate that sell-off below the base of the bounce here. And again, my take profit was below the untapped lows right here. Let's see how price goes here. And there we go. Oh. Okay, first I actually want to mention that a lot of people thought that this would be the bottom, but I was just thinking to myself, why would this bottom be any different than something like this, something like this? Just, you see these patterns absolutely everywhere. Something like this, right, where we just bounce, stall, bleed out. I don't even know how many times I've said that this video, but it's literally the same pattern every time. Look, we're stalling now. Uh-oh, that's concerning. And bleed out. There we go. And look at that, accelerated sell-off below the lows, below the base of the bounce. Untapped lows, take profit hit, hedge closed, and we'll see what happens after that. You can see how important of a support and resistance area this untapped lows turns out to be. Right, all of these untapped lows and highs typically end up to be very significant areas going forward. Cool. So I guess that's everything I want to talk about. My throat hurts. This has been almost a 30-minute long video, 24 minutes. So I hope you guys found any value out of this video. Hopefully it wasn't just me rambling. I kind of just like blacked out during it and when I was just talking. Hopefully it made sense. If you have any further questions, please feel free to ask. Thank you.